Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo have started a new podcast called Pound for Pound. On the first episode, Usman reveals that they filmed the actual first episode last week. And on that episode that never ended up getting released, Henry made his quote-unquote official retirement from MMA. And as we now know, Henry has changed his mind and will not be retiring. Be sure to go subscribe to Kamaru and Henry's new YouTube channel. A link will be in the description.
So my dog, you retired on Wednesday on us. And
I'm giving it up here, man. Here at Pound for Pound, the inaugural episode. I know the producers here and everybody here are probably gonna trip out, but it's just the reality of my brother. Consider you my Nigerian brother from another mother. That this is it for me, bro.
On Friday.
Retired on Wednesday.
On Friday, I'm scrolling through the internet and I'm seeing a video going, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm like, what?
But you know what, Kamar? Can I tell you about that? I think,
yeah, please
I think
tell
as a
me.
fighter, dude, and there's a couple things. I've always been that winner that I thought about it too. It's like I never really retired the first time because of money. I retired because I loved the resume that I was carrying, and it was so precious. Why do you think even a guy like Khabib has retired? Like Khabib has every right to. You know why? Because he's got $50-60 million in the bank. You know what I'm saying? If I was Khabib too, I'd keep that precious 30-0 or 29-0, whatever, and just let people just talk. But in my situation, the reason why I retired the first time, Kamaru was just strictly just satisfied, number one, with my career, what I've done, you know, to become the first and only Olympic champ in 2 weight divisions. And then two, it was like, I just, you know, the incentive to me wasn't rap, but that wasn't the main thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what else was motivating me to get up, to go through these weight cuts, to start a shtick and put more pressure on myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, you know what? I had spoken to Dana, and I had personally had told him, like, hey man, I'm gonna, you know, I'm in this game for a little bit. Like, I would, you know, like, enjoy what you have it now. But to thank God that Dana White didn't give me that mic that night, because, you know, purposely, like, no, screw you, Henry, you're always pulling something, and I get it. It was the best thing that could have happened to me, because you just go back and you think about it. Do I really want to go out, like, getting controlled like that? For me now, Kamaru, I think there's a lot of unfinished business.
Jake Paul just released some alleged DMs with Sean Strickland. On his podcast called BS with Jake Paul, Jake showed these DMs on screen. To Strickland, Jake said, "Can you come out this week? Any day works. We'll send you a plane." Sean replied, "I mute my Twitter just seeing this. What about a real fight? I don't know if I could get the UFC on board, but with their involvement, I think we can make it happen. Conor did it with Mayweather." Jake replied, "They'll never let you fight me, but you can try and ask them. I'm here and ready to spar or fight, let me know." Sean replied, "I'm going to talk to Hunter about a fight. Man, that is a big f***ing paycheck. Let me see what I can do." Sean fired back at Jake and shows that Jake didn't show their full conversation. On X, Sean posted this. He wrote, "Coward and a liar. There are so many legal ways you can die in America. Our founding fathers killed men for less. Bring a GoPro. Come to my house. State your intent. Break a window. I don't call cops. I don't press charges. I know you would, but bring the mill, please." Here's the screenshot attached. It shows that Sean continued the conversation. He wrote, "Yeah, man, I doubt it, but I'll meet you in Texas for a 1v1. Can you still bring the mill? But just us. It's the only state we can do it in." Daniel Cormier fired back at Nate Diaz, saying that he was not a real fighter this week. If you missed that, DC on his podcast said that he wasn't a big fan of the idea of Nate headlining UFC 306 in the Sphere. Nate fired back on Twitter, calling DC a bitch, and said DC wasn't a real fighter. DC has responded to Nate on his YouTube channel. DC says that if he is not a real fighter, what does that make Nate with double-digit losses?
But if I'm not a fighter, what that make him? What does that make him? If I did what I did, and if he did what he did, what that make him? You know, one time I was talking to Khabib, and it was when Nate was coming at Khabib, and Khabib said something to the effect of, "This man has lost 12 or 13 fights in his career." He's like, "Daniel, I can't respond to this guy. I can't take this guy serious, because who loses to that many people? How can you call me not a fighter when you have had those instances?" What did I do? I fought the best. I fought the best in the world constantly. So to say I'm not a fighter because I have an opinion on whether or not I want to see him headline the Sphere is going to be one of the greatest pay-per-view experiences that we've had in the UFC. But the reality is, the one thing we will not do is compare myself to Nate Diaz, because it's different levels, much different. I'm a champion, 2 weight classes. I lost 3 times in my career. 4, if you count the fight that was called a no contest. 4 times, 2 guys. We are on much different wavelengths. We are on much different planets. We're not in the same stratosphere in terms of fighters. And it's time for me to stop allowing people to attack or come at me in these ways when I'm doing my job.
Dustin Poirier is scheduled to fight Benoit Saint Denis at UFC 299 next week. Ahead of the fight, Dustin reveals that now that he is 35 years old, this fight and every fight from here on out could be his last fight. Speaking to TMZ Sports, Dustin said to test myself really, to see if I still got it. This guy is young, hungry, on a streak, has finished his last 5 opponents. That makes me nervous, so I want to toss myself in the fire. That's where I feel I do my best work, and those are the kind of fighters I want to fight. Guys who are leaving it all out there, showing grit, they fight for finishes. That's the kind of fight I want to be involved in. Every fight could be it. Every fight. Where I'm at, 35 years old, this is my 30th fight in the UFC. Every fight could be it. Israel Adesanya reveals that he does plan on rematching Sean Strickland. Izzy also mocked Sean for losing the belt on his first title defense. On Theo Von's podcast, Izzy said this took me 6 years to accomplish on avenging his loss to Alex Pereira. With Strickland, it won't take me that long. Let me just get through DDP first. Let me handle. I look to the next fight. I look ahead like a little peek at the future, but I don't try to focus on it. I just know the Strickland fight will come back around. I'm in a good place now health-wise, mentally, and I know exactly what happened in that fight that just wasn't for me. He's a great fighter. He's also a good champion. What a reign. I mean, he did what he did. He did what he did. Look, even the way he beat me, it was spectacular. It was his moment. That was his night. He just fought the perfect fight no matter what. I made no excuses. I gave it to him. But again, like I say, I'm a patient motherfucker. I take my time, I reassess, and yeah, I go for what I want. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Dirty Bag Lifestyle. It says Jones and Cormier can't decide if they're going to be cordial. The second one's from Chris M6446. It says, I don't understand why Jones keeps trying to be a good example when he's the complete opposite to that. And the final one's from Bottle Coke. It says, John Jones dissing DC sounds like a jealous ex-girlfriend. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.